Hi, my name's Yvonne and I'm a UK Stampin' Up demonstrator, and what I'm going to show you today is a follow-on from my previous video regarding different ways of colouring. So this time I'm going to be using our ink pads and pens to watercolour. So what I'm going to be using is the Happy Birthday to You stamp set. Now this is a free stamp set when you spend over £45 in the catalogues up until the 31st of March. This is a beautiful cake with flowers, and also you can buy as a separate purchase the dies to go with it to cut them out. Now I have done a card with this cut out and I'll show you that in a little while, but I'm just going to show you the colouring. So I'll get the cake. Now I'm using my stamp apparatus because I haven't got a big enough block, so I'm just going to position this on my door. As you can see, this is well used. I've got marks all over it and it needs a good clean, but that's because I use it a lot and I really like it. So what I'm going to do is just ink up my stamp. I'm just going to try ink it up well because it's a big stamp. You want to make sure it picks everything up. And then with the stamp apparatus, all you do is press down, and now as you can see, the image is not picked up properly in this little area. So all we need to do is, because it's kept in the same area and the block, everything's positioned correctly, then it should, and there you go. So it actually stamps the image as you want it. You can re-ink it if you want and then re-stamp it, but I feel that's okay for me to work with. So I'm just going to close that and put that to one side. So on my previous video I was showing how to use watercolour pencils with just a blender pen. Now in this video I'm going to show you watercolouring. Now I've got Old Olive, my stamp pad. Now you can do this one or two ways. So as you can see, I've got a bit of ink that's in the tray of my ink pad, and that's normally from, to get that ink you just press on your ink pad and then it'll bring the ink onto there. So what I'm going to do is, I've got my watercolour brush and I'm just going to use this ink that's here and just pick it up, ready to paint. Make sure I've got enough, and then all I'm going to do is paint the leaves. Again, I'm not doing anything difficult because I really don't do difficult colouring. So I've got a little bit of water in my brush, and then that's mixing with the ink that's already on the inside of my ink pad, and I'm just picking it up and then painting it on. And I think that's it for that colour. So I'm just going to close that a moment. Close this, make sure I don't get ink on me, which I probably have done. And then we'll go on to the next colour. Now the next colour, I haven't actually got a ink pad for this. So the second technique is I've actually got a re-inker. So this is Petal Pink. Now you can either do this with a re-inker, or you can do this with a Stamp and Write marker. So I'll just show you the Stamp and Write marker first. I'm just going to colour on a acrylic block to put a bit of colour on there, and then I'm just going to clean my brush, squeeze a bit of water. Need to get rid of that green, that's not good. I've got a different one there. That's good. And then I'm just going to use my water brush and pick up the colour from my block, and it puts on a pale colour. So if you want to make it darker, then you can just scribble on there again, and then pick the colour up and then put it on. Again, just painting. Now the next method is I've got a re-inker for this particular colour. So if I just put a dab of 1 or 2 drops on my acrylic block, again pick it up and then start colouring. Now this is going to give a darker colour depending on how much ink you put on your block. But there again, you've got a different way to watercolour. So that's that one. I'm just going to clean my block off. Clean my brush off because I don't want to contaminate into my next colour, so that's fine. Got a bit of ink there, which is not good. That's just my cleaning cloth that I use for either cleaning stamps or cleaning blocks. So then my next colour, I'm doing the same principle again. So I'm using the ink there's a little bit on the top of the lid, and then I'm going to bring it out onto the flower. And again, just picking it up from the inside of the ink pad onto the flower. So whichever method you use, it's entirely up to you, and it also depends on what you've actually got to play with. Now I will say this, I'm not using a watercolour paper, I'm just using normal thick cardstock. So you can use watercolour paper or our shimmer paper, which is a beautiful paper, and it goes really well with doing watercolours. So that is a simple way or another way to colour your images of your stamps. I'll just show you the finished card, which is quite in depth. I wouldn't say it's for a beginner, but you can adapt it to make it. Now the front of the card is very easy. I'm using some paper, from DSP paper, from the, let me get the right wording, from the Dressed Best papers, and this is the lovely flowers. And all I've done is I've used some ribbon, some satin ribbon with silver on the side, and then used a coordinating coloured card just underneath. So I've split the card and then put a tag on the front. The tag's just stuck down, and this is where it gets interesting. Inside the card, and I'm just going to cover that bit up because it's somebody's card, I've done a pop-up of the cake that I've just coloured in. So I'll put a link to a video down below. The lady who I've got the inspiration for this is Jennifer Ink. I'll put her link to her video below, and she explains how to do this. It is really simple, but in this case I've actually, let me just turn that over, I've actually done it both sides, and there's a technique to do that with the Stamparatus, to do a mirror image, and that's what I've done. If you can see that there, I've done a complete mirror image. So it is not quite for a beginner, this particular card as such, but the principles of the colouring in are exactly the same. So I'll just close that up. So whatever you feel comfortable with in using your different either inks or the pens, or even if you've got re-inkers to do a little bit of watercolouring, they all work really well. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video, and it'll give you some inspiration, especially for Mother's Day. If you've got a nice image and you want to have a go at colouring it in with the different ways, then it'll be a good way to try it out. Well, thank you very much for watching. I'd really like it if you would subscribe to my channel. I'm hoping to get 50 subscribers by the end of June. So if you like my videos, please click that like button and hit the bell button to give you notifications of when I release any more YouTube videos. I normally do this probably about once a week, depending on my schedule, as I work full time. So this is just like my little part-time hobby, which I enjoy doing. Thank you very much for watching. Bye bye.